So, it looks like Joe Biden will be announcing he's running for president in 2024. That brings up an interesting question. What happens if your candidate dies during the election campaign? Hey, I'm Mark. I'm a history teacher, and I'm going rogue. Look, I'm not hoping for Joe Biden to die. I'm not that horrible of a human being. But the guy's like 80, the oldest president in U.S. history, and struggles to put his thoughts into complete sentences. Then again, let's look on the other side of the ticket. The presumptive Republican Party nominee is no spring chicken either. Trump is 76. Oh, and remember that whole curse of Tecumseh thing? Presidents elected in years ending in 0 tend to die in office? Just saying. Check out my video on the curse of Tecumseh. Oh, and buy my book. Available in paperback and ebook at Amazon Bookstore. The link's in the description. That's what it looks like when it's not backwards. We know when a president dies in office, the vice president takes over. But what if they die during the campaign? The Constitution makes no provision for that occurrence. Let's say that the party held its primary, had their national convention, picked its nominee, then he dies. Like that would ever happen. It happened once. Let's go back to the 19th century. The Democrats had a horrible time in the late 1800s. Between 1860 and 1912, they won 2 elections. In 1884 and 1892, same guy, Grover Cleveland. Samuel Tilden won more popular votes in 1876, but still ended up losing the electoral vote to Rutherford B. Hayes. Hence the moniker, Rutherfraud. Then there was 1872. The Democrats, totally discredited after the Civil War because of their association with slavery and secession. On the Republican side, the Republican president, Ulysses S. Grant, was still wildly popular, being the Union general that won the Civil War. Grant had a challenger in his own party, though, Horace Greeley. Greeley built his campaign around civil service reform, noting the corruption within the Grant administration that was soon to come to light, and for an end to Reconstruction. When Grant won the nomination, Greeley bolted the party and created his own liberal Republican Party. Knowing that they couldn't field a candidate of their own strong enough to beat Grant, the Democrats combined with the liberal Republicans, nominating Greeley to be their guy as well. Democrats were particularly drawn to Greeley's plan to end Reconstruction, a policy that would return the Democrats to power in the South. So who was Horace Greeley? Horace Greeley was born to an impoverished family in Amherst, New Hampshire in 1811. As a child, he was apprenticed to a printer in Vermont, then moved to New York City in 1831. After working in a number of outlets, he started his own newspaper, the New York Tribune, in 1841. And the Tribune soon became the most widely circulated newspaper in the country. The Tribune's agenda called for socialism, women's rights, temperance, and settling the West. Horace Greeley credited with coining the phrase, "Go West, young man." But his greatest cause was for the abolition of slavery. During the Civil War, Greeley was a strong supporter of the policies of Abraham Lincoln. After Lincoln's assassination, he supported the radical Republicans, their efforts to reconstruct the South, and their opposition to Lincoln's successor, Andrew Johnson. He then broke with the radical Republicans after numerous scandals were uncovered inside the Grant administration, and he attempted to unseat the incumbent Republican in 1872. So, Greeley was the candidate for the breakaway liberal Republicans and the Democrats. The country soon discovered that Greeley could write editorials for the Tribune, but apparently was horrible on the campaign trail. Having written numerous editorials in his publishing career, the Republicans found plenty of ammunition to attack him with. His statements concerning socialism, the role of women in society, and the evils of alcohol were restated repeatedly by Grant supporters. Then, on October 31st, 5 days before the election, Mary Young Cheney Greeley, his wife of 35 years, died. Greeley was devastated. On election night, November 5th, Greeley won only 6 states and 66 electoral votes. Ulysses S. Grant won 31 states and 286 electoral votes. The tally would not be official, though, until the Electoral College met on February 12th of the following year. Then, on November 29th, Greeley died. What could the Electoral College do? Were they still bound to voting for the dead candidate? Well, under the Constitution, electors aren't bound to any candidate. Today, electors are subject to state law. Some states require electors to be faithful to the winner of the state's popular vote. Some states don't have faithful electors. Check out the electoral map from 2016. Apparently, when the electors in Washington and Hawaii saw that Hillary Clinton was not going to win, they changed their votes to another person, not necessarily a candidate. If I remember correctly, Spotted Eagle was a leader of the protests against pipelines being built over Lakota Sioux territory. Who else? Colin Powell? John Kasich? Bernie Sanders won an electoral vote in Hawaii? But electors are also bound by the dictates of the party. The original intent under the Constitution was that electors would be the wisest and most morally upstanding members of the community. Today, they're party loyalists, hacks that are trying to move up through the Democratic or Republican Party machinery. They're not going to switch their vote, even if Al Gore offers them $1 million in order to get the one vote he needed in 2000, while the votes were being recounted in Florida. Back to 1872. Your candidate has died. What now, electors? Vote for the candidate's vice president? They could, but they don't have to. That doesn't apply in an election. In 1872, the Democratic electors, no longer bound to voting for Greeley, split their votes up among 4 different candidates. Horace Greeley actually won 3 electoral votes from Georgia. Well, in our 1872 case study, the votes cast by the Democratic electors were irrelevant since Ulysses S. Grant had won. But what if Greeley had won? What if the septuagenarian or octogenarian candidate wins in 2024 and then dies? The Constitution didn't consider such an event, and there is no precedent. Can the winning party just throw another warm body into the presidency? A person that did not win the election? Presidential succession doesn't apply. The vice president didn't win any popular votes. He just rode the coattails of the president, who is now dead. My head is spinning just thinking about it. Wait a minute, Haggard. You know the answer to this. Put your teaching hat on. The Constitution says that if no candidate gets a majority of electoral votes, then the election goes to the House of Representatives. If the candidate with the majority of votes dies, then no other candidate has a majority of electoral votes. Therefore, as in 1800 and 1824, the presidential election goes to the House of Representatives. Oh, Wiley, you are a genius. Yeah, but what are the chances, huh? Slim? Could it happen? I'd like to be there when it does. Maybe next year. Hey, thanks for coming by. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. If I did it right, you did both. Like, comment, subscribe, share. I had fun, but I won't quit my day job. And the next time the candidate you voted for dies before the official votes can be tallied, remember me. I'm Mark Haggard. I'm a history teacher, and I've gone rogue.